During your time in the kitchen, you've surely boiled, baked, sauteed, and maybe even shallow fried. These are all common cooking methods that enable us to make a variety of foods and meals. But there's one you may have never even heard of, yet alone used: pan-broiling. Wait, what? Yes, as its name suggests, pan-broiling is related to broiling, but, well, it uses a pan in a specialized manner. Cooking this way is both exciting and yields super tasty results. Today I'm going to tell you all about pan-broiling so you can make some amazing meals. Hello and welcome to I Want to Cook. My name is Chef Matt and this channel is all about helping you be a better cook. And boy, are you going to be a better cook after watching today's episode, because you are going to know how to pan broil. Now, as I said in that intro, you may have never even heard of this cooking method. It's kind of rare, but it's really, really cool. So let's start with the first question that you're probably asking. What is pan broiling? Pan broiling is a dry heat cooking method in which food is cooked uncovered on a very hot metal surface, usually a pan, as its name suggests. And here's where you may be thinking, hey, Chef Matt, isn't that just sauteing? Like those sauteed chicken breasts we made in that video on how to keep food from sticking to a pan? Well, not quite. The big difference between sauteing and pan broiling is that when sauteing, we usually add an oil to the pan. But for pan broiling, it's usually dry, or we add very little oil to the pan or cookware that we're pan broiling in. If any oil or fat is used, it's usually brushed directly on the food to be cooked instead of put in the pan. The results are a bit different too. With sauteing, foods take on a browner color, and we can also make a pan sauce, again, as we did with those sauteed chicken breasts. But with pan broiling, because we're not really using much or any oil, well, it's all about the char. You get some nice smoky results from the food being pan broiled. Now, as you may guess, pan broiling is meant to mimic traditional broiling, but instead of using an oven or a grill, well, we're using a pan. As a reminder, broiling is a method of cooking in which food is placed directly below a flame or heating element in an oven or above a flame on a grill. With traditional broiling, food is cooked via direct, radiant heat and takes on a nice char. With pan broiling, food is technically cooked via conduction. The pan is conducting the heat to cook the food. Yet it yields the results we love with traditional broiling, that wonderful char. And because we're essentially broiling but in a pan, you have more control of ingredient placement. Plus, it can be faster and easier than having to deal with an oven broiler or lighting up a grill. Now, broiling and pan broiling are also similar in the kinds of foods that are most suitable for that type of cooking. And that is usually thin, tender cuts of meat, poultry, and fish, along with vegetables. Pan broiling, like broiling, is a quick cooking method. It usually takes only 10 minutes or less to cook foods this way. Again, because we're using thin cuts of meat, poultry, fish, or vegetables, the food cooks quickly. Now, if you have a thicker cut of, let's say, poultry, like a chicken breast, you can either cut it even thinner or you can pound it out. What I usually do though when pan broiling is I just buy thinner cuts of meat in the store. That just makes it easier and they are ready to go. You can also pan broil pre-cooked cuts of meats to add a nice char. Great candidates are ham and hot dogs. In fact, if you've ever just thrown a hot dog in a hot skillet, well, you were pan broiling and you didn't even know it. Pan broiling can also be used as a technique for special applications in which foods need to be charred. If you've ever made chili rellenos, for example, you know that you first need to char the peppers and then put them in a bag to steam so that you can take the skins off. Well, pan broiling those peppers is easier than putting them under a broiler in an oven or just charring them on a stove, which can be a real mess. In that sense, it's kind of like when we made those charred, blistered shishito peppers. Those were delicious. Another great application where pan broiling comes in clutch is when making pho, the slurpily delicious Vietnamese noodle soup. To make an authentic pho, you need to char ginger and onions, both with the skins on. I know it sounds weird, but it really is a secret to making amazing pho. And pan broiling is a great way to do that. Now, there are other foods and meals in which pan broiling would not be the best method. For example, if you wanted something breaded like a breaded cutlet, well, you don't want to pan broil that. Better application for that would be shallow frying or sauteing. And again, pan broiling really is not meant for thick cuts of food. You want everything to cook nice and quickly, so you're not going to be like pan broiling a porterhouse or a very thick cut of chicken. If you did, you'd have to finish it in the oven or with another method so that everything cooked through. Okay, let's talk about the best pan for pan broiling, and well, it's this. It's a cast iron pan. As I've said on the many other videos I've made about cast iron pans, well, these are just fantastic. They are so suitable for pan broiling. They can take high heat, they retain heat, they can take a real beating, and well, cast iron is my go-to when pan broiling, but it's not the only pan that would be suitable for this application. Similarly, carbon steel would also work well for pan broiling, and it has a lot of the same traits as cast iron. So carbon steel would also be a great candidate for pan broiling. It can definitely take that heat and it can lend that nice char to whatever you're pan broiling. You could also use stainless steel if that's all you have. One type of cookware that I would not advise using for pan broiling is non-stick cookware, and for a couple of reasons. First of all, you never want to heat a non-stick pan dry because it can release harmful chemicals, and well, non-stick usually just can't take the high heat that's often associated with pan broiling. Finally, as for enameled cast iron, I suppose you could use it for pan broiling, but personally I wouldn't because, well, you might risk staining it. So again, I just advise using cast iron. And finally, I should mention that although it's called pan broiling, it doesn't necessarily need to be a pan. So you could use a nice skillet like this Lodge cast iron skillet that I thrifted not that long ago. This would also work well. Oh, and in case you're wondering, if you have one of those grill pans and you pan broil with it, well, technically that's pan grilling. So now I'm going to show you the exact steps I take when pan broiling, and well, the first one and a big piece of advice is, if possible, do this outside. This is a high heat cooking method. It creates a lot of smoke, it creates a lot of char, and well, your kitchen vent may not be up for it. Certainly mine is not. It just creates a lot of mess. So if possible, do it outside, just like we did when we did that blackening food episode. So let's step outside and get our pan broil on. Okay, have pan, will broil. Now I'm just using an outdoor grill here, but I should note that, you know, you can use induction for this, you can use an electric burner, just whatever you have. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to put our pan over about, let's say, medium heat here, and we are just going to let this heat for about 5 to, let's say, 7 minutes. We want to get this thing nice and hot. And again, we're not going to add any oil to this pan. Okay, this has been heating for about 8 minutes. In a cast iron pan that has been seasoned, you might see just a little wisp of smoke coming up, and that tells you that this thing is nice and hot. So here we go. I seasoned some chicken breast, thin cut, put some oil on them. And again, there's no oil in this pan. That's what pan broiling is all about. So let's lay this guy right in here. Hear that sizzle? That's exactly what you want. So now we are just going to cook this. This is only going to take a few minutes, and then we are going to have pan-broiled chicken. And here we go, in less than 10 minutes, we have some lovely pan-broiled chicken. Take a look at that. Do you see just how beautifully brown this is? We are gonna let this rest, and it is gonna be absolutely delicious. You can serve this atop of rice, you can serve it with potatoes, whatever you want. And from here, we can pan-broil whatever we want. Some asparagus, steak, fish, shrimp, you name it. We're just going to use the same method, and we are going to pan broil it all. So that is pan broiling 101. I can't wait for you to try this cooking method. Again, if you can, do it outdoors or set that vent to high. It will create quite a bit of smoke, but I think the results are worth it. Tell me what you pan broil. I hope it turns out wonderful. Okay, trivia time. Last week I asked you to identify this rather funny looking bulbous thing, and many of you got it right. This is, of course, fennel, also known as anise, and it has a taste, well, something like black licorice. So this is indeed fennel. Congratulations to everybody who correctly identified it. For this week's culinary trivia, who knows what type of pan this is and what it makes? You know where I got this, of course. I got this at the thrift store. If you can identify this or you have a guess, put it in the comments below, and I will, of course, let you know the correct answer in the next episode. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Until next time, I hope you want to cook.